Hi everyone, today our topic is inequalities word problems. As a reminder, you do not need to write down everything that we'll cover in this video, but be sure to jot down important information and at least one example of each type of problem that we'll cover. Also remember that you can pause the video to jot down important notes, rewind to view information again, and fast forward if you think you got it. Be careful, make sure you don't fast forward too much that you end up missing out on something important. So it's important for us to start off with a review of our inequalities. Remember that the closed dot means that it's equal to, so that will include that number that you're talking about, whether it's greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. That number that's in the inequality is included because it could be equal to that number. Open dot means that you're not including that number. So you're only talking about numbers that are greater than or less than, but you're skipping over that number. In today's problems, which are the word problems, you're going to be given a word problem and you have to translate it into an inequality statement. So not the graph, but the actual statement. So here are some most common phrases that tell you you're going to use the less than symbol. So faster or faster than would be indicating that something is going faster, and faster would mean that you're using less time. So that's why this one is the less than symbol. Lower than means that it would be less than as well. You have a smaller number. Colder, remember the further down in a thermometer, the colder you get. So the smaller the value, the colder you get. So that's also a less than symbol. Less than is obviously a less than. Shorter than would mean that you have a smaller value for your height. Younger than would be a smaller value for your age. Before, like if you're talking about time, would mean that you are subtracting years or months or whatever it is that you're measuring time. And then under would be kind of like a height or under an amount, so that would also be a less than phrase. For greater than, it would be just the opposite. So slower than would tell you a greater number because it takes you more time in order to, I guess, finish a race or something like that. Higher than would be a greater number. Warmer, thinking about the thermometer. On the thermometer, the higher it is, the warmer the temperature is. More than would be greater than. Taller would mean that you have higher numbers to represent the height. Older would mean you have more years. After, if you're talking about time, would be adding on years or months or seconds, whatever it is. Above would also be a greater than phrase. The ones that are less common that you still need to know about are the less than or equal to phrases and the greater than or equal to phrases. So less than or equal to phrases most commonly will use the phrase no more than. So that's kind of like if your mom were to give you money to go shop at the mall, and let's say they gave you $20. That would be a less than or equal to situation. Because if you were given $20, you can't spend more than $20. No more than $20. However, that is also equal to $20 because you can also spend exactly $20 without a single penny left over. So that's why no more than is a less than or equal to, because $20 is not skipped over. You can definitely use exactly the amount of money that your mom gave you. It's a less than or equal to because you can't spend more money. You don't have more than $20. So everything up to $20 and including $20 would work for that situation when you can spend no more than $20, as an example. On the opposite end, there's the greater than or equal to phrase that's most commonly used, and that is at least. So in the at least scenario, I like to think about like a roller coaster. When you want to ride on a roller coaster, they say you have to be at least this tall to ride it, right? So there's usually like some kind of board with a height there, and they tell you to stand against the board, and they say you have to be at least this tall. So if you're right at that line, hey, you can ride that ride. If you are shorter than that height, you can't ride it. So it has to be at least that tall. You have to be at the line or taller. So that would be greater than or equal to. Make sure that you have written all this down in your notebook before we move on to examples. Okay, so let's take a look at some inequality word problems. This problem tells us that the Mali Empire of West Africa was known far and wide for the great wealth of its rulers. The empire fell in the year 1610. Let x represent any year and write an inequality in terms of x in 1610 that is true only for the values of x that represent years after the years the Mali Empire fell. So I'm going to write down the most important two pieces of information, which is x and my 1610. Now all I need to figure out in between is which one of these symbols would work. The Mali Empire was known far and wide for its great wealth of its rulers. The empire fell in the year 1610. We want to know the years after the year that the Mali Empire fell, the years after that year, the years after 1610. So think to yourself which of these symbols would represent the years after 1610. Okay, if you said that it was greater than, okay, if you said that it was greater than, you are correct, because you can come up with another random year, like our year right now, 2019. It is a number that's greater than 1610. Is it after the year that the Mali Empire fell? Yeah, right now is going to be after that time in history. So all values that are bigger or greater than 1610 would work. The only other option that could work would be greater than or equal to, but that is actually the year that the Mali Empire fell. So it doesn't include the equal sign. They're talking about after that year. So after that year would be starting with 1611. So we cannot include the actual year that it fell. And then obviously less than or equal to would be before that empire fell. So again, we would have x is greater than 1610. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, let's take a look at this problem now. Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own first. Remember, you're looking for key words. Okay, to cook a steak to medium rare, it needs to have an internal temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. A lower internal temperature will undercook the steak. Write an inequality that is true only for temperatures T, so we're not using X this time, at which a steak will be undercooked. So again, we're looking for the inequality symbol that would work. So we're looking for a lower temperature because that will undercook the steak. So we need to know all the temperatures where the steak will be undercooked. If you chose less than, you are correct, because less than means all the temperatures that would be less than 135. It actually can't be greater than or equal to, because that would be, the equal to would make it at 135 degrees. They're saying it has to be lower than 135 degrees, so it doesn't include 135. It looks like 135 is just as low as you can get before it becomes undercooked. So the only option is less than. If it's greater than, oh, sorry, X'd out the wrong one. Less than or equal to. And then greater than, and all the greater than ones will not work because it would not be undercooked then. At 135 and above, it is good. The steak is good. So you should have T is less than 135 degrees. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions as you work on these problems. Remember to look for those key phrases and just double check. Use some sample numbers like I did to just double check and make sure that your answer makes sense. And I'll see you in class.